Hello, internet friends. My name is Bay, and welcome to the Battle for Azeroth beta and the second pass for the Destruction Warlock. This video is going to go over talent adjustments, spells and abilities lost or gained, what has been kept from your Legion artifacts or legendaries, if so, new graphics, of course, a brief overview of the war mode talents, and then any GCD changes. Spoiler alert, Warlocks don't really have any, because all their stuff's on the GCD already. There's no true gameplay in this series overall. Consider it more of a one-man podcast walkthrough primer of what your spec is going from one expansion to the next, Legion to BFA. If you want the entire second pass testing VOD, 2.5 hours or so for Destruction, in the description box down below is found over on my Twitch channel. And of course, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, feedback, whatever, leave them down below, and we'll go from there. I usually check my comments for the first couple of days after the video goes up. And then if you are new to the channel and enjoy my ramblings, consider hitting subscribe. And if you want to keep up to date on when videos go live, of course, you can hit that bell next to it, because that's like the super subscribe button. Just notifies you when a video goes live. So, Warlocks, Destruction. I don't have green fire because it's ridiculous to farm on the beta. I'm not doing that. There's a bunch of footage. One of my viewers, two of my viewers actually went and actually farmed the green fire, so it's in the background. But the green fire also doesn't render properly. There's a whole slew of things that don't render as green fire right now, so no really point in showing you off. Rain of Fire actually is like Christmas Rain of Fire, where it's red and green together. Whatever, but that's totally fine. Overall, baseline Warlocky stuff. Life tap and any talents about life tap gone. Some soul stone changes happened recently. Your Soul Stone is still a 60-20 res, same as Death Knight's at 60-20. However, yours is a 3-second cast time to be done before or during combat, like you can, the preemptive or the reactionary. DKs are 30 runic power, that is instant. And then Druids have instant bear form res at 100% HP, 20% mana, but it costs 10 rage. And then Cats, Trees, and Moonkins, again 100% HP and 20% mana, has a cast time above 2 seconds. So a little bit of changes across the board to your Soul Stone, your battle reses. Not really anything major, but the DKs got shafted a bit due to the fact that they have to use their DPS resource or their survivability resource to res. So Shadow Fury is baseline across the board for all Warlocks. I was told a bajillion and a half times that I didn't know, I haven't done a second pass of Havoc yet, is that Havoc's Chaos stun is actually a 2-second stun now. It was a disorient, but so Shadow Fury is a 1-minute cooldown, 8-yard AoE, 3-second stun. So a lot of the whole stun meta has been changed. Most stuns are only 2 or 3 seconds or so, unless it's like Hodge, but it's only one target. So baseline, still no real interrupt baseline for the Destruction Warlock. Same thing with Affliction, but on that topic of interrupts, all the pets across the board for Warlocks now are determined by the utility you need. The Imp is not the pet for Destruction anymore, just same way as the Fell Hunter, as I have out now, is not the pet for Affliction. There's no point to have out a certain pet for damage, because they all do the same thing. Fell Hunter and the Succubus and the Imp are all the same. Voidwalker might be the same. The thing is, it like spam AoEs for a little while, and its actually attacks are weaker, but it has like two that happen at the same time. It's auto attack and it's spammed AoE one. But Felguard, of course, for Demonology is the pet you want to go for, unless you need the utility of the other pets. But of course, you do have the Devourer Magic, the Purge, and you can take the Spell Lock, and you can still use Grimoire of Sacrifice to give yourself the Spell Lock. I was told today, apparently, that the Succubus's Mez, when you have Grimoire of Sacrifice, is being changed to the Slow instead, which, because you have to actually channel the Mez if you're the Warlock, which is kind of really awkward. So that's kind of strange. But Infernal is your baseline cooldown now. You don't have any Doomguard, any Madness anymore. I'm going to bring this up real quick because this is a thing I talked about in the Affliction Warlock video a lot. Not so much in the Demonology one, because Demonology one is really similar to Affliction, but across the board, all 3 Warlock specs now have their own key summon. So the Dark Glare, the Tyrant, and the Infernal. The Infernal now lands, does the AoE damage, does the 2-second stun, 3-minute cooldown, deals the pulsing AoE damage as an auto attack, so it does both. It will generate 1 soul shard fragment every half second for 30 seconds. In total, that will give you 6 full shards. The purple embers you have down here, right? These are 10 fragments to make 1 soul shard. You'll see that when I go over and start hitting the target dummy to show off some talents and stuff, is that that's how these work. They're 10 pieces for 1 whole soul shard, and over the course of 30 seconds, you're getting 60 fragments. Even though he costs 1 soul shard, you're basically spending 1 to get back 5. Is that in overall, because you have to account for when you summon this damn thing, is that you'll get that over the course of the 30 seconds. And then, of course, stacks with everything else that's giving you soul shards, so it does smooth out that opener without having early Legion. You had like the yes or no on getting a full soul shard or not, and they did fix that to give you basically purple embers, but that is still very much here. And all the main summons now for each of the Warlock specs all have some synergy within their overall spec. Destruction can go 1 step deeper as well, but you run out here, get out of this cellar, and go over to the target dummies. There isn't a whole lot of super in-depth to go through with Destruction. It does what it does. Destruction Warlock puts up Immolate, casts some Incinerates, right? Throws in a Conflag, and casts some Chaos Bolts. Those are the new animations, of course. We haven't seen those yet. A big hook for the Destruction Warlock, of course, is the 2 target interactions with Havoc. That is still 100% what Destruction does. It has some burst AoE, some really good stand still and turret single target, but overall it really is going to shine when you do the 2 target cleave. BL, different through different talent combinations and whatnot, which of course we'll go through very shortly. So, Legion talent backdraft, which you saw there for a little bit when I was doing some animations. This is now baseline. It's a little weaker than your current talentable version because it only works on the next Incinerate or Chaos Bolt, just 1 stack. This stacks 2 times, so you can back-to-back it. Get 2 stacks of backdraft and throw out 2 very fast Chaos Bolts. And a Conflag does give you 5 fragments. So 2 back-to-back, of course, would give you a full soul shard. That is still how Conflag works. It has a 13-second recharge, up from a 12-second recharge. I don't know why the 1 second additional there. Maybe just a pacing thing with haste scaling and in the rotation feel, but that's how Conflag is. And everything else along the whole kit here is the same. Chaos Bolt is the same 3-second cast reduced by haste. Still has the damage further increased by your critical strike. It always crits, of course. Your mastery is still the chaotic energy, which is a flat amount of damage increase, and then plus a random roll of the same amount of damage increase from either 0 to that max cap on every spell you cast, every time your dot ticks, all that stuff. And you have the damage reduction passive as well, which is the 4%, at least at current mode, and then again the extra roll on the DR up to the cap of the base one. So that's there. Soul Leech was nerfed just slightly to 8% to the absorb and 10% max shield. You can still get around that a bit by, speccing Demon Skin to get back to that 15% overall, but just some slight tweaks to your survivability. But everything else is the same. Your demons are the same. You're gonna have the same unending resolve. Is still at 40% for 8 seconds, immune to interrupts and silences. Your other abilities, Rain of Fire still costs 3 shards, scales with haste, incinerate, 2-second cast, generates to 2 soul shard fragments and 1 additional on a crit. And of course that will scale when you're hitting more targets with Havoc or with Fire and Brimstone. That all still is the same. When you Havoc, you still apply whatever you're casting on multiple targets. That is still all what you're used to. But that's Destruction. I like actually recording Destruction later in the evening here because you can see the particle effect, the lighting source that's on the Chaos Bolt. This is very nice. Everything else is the same. Enslaved Demon has a little caveat that it only goes +1 level above the Warlock, so at max level it's going to be 121. So you may not be able to actually control or enslave elites in dungeons because they'll be 122. More on that, of course, as we go for it. Havoc has the Wreak Havoc talent rolled in baseline now. So it is a 25-second cooldown with a 10-second duration base. None of that 45 with taking Wreak Havoc gives you the 20 seconds off. That's all baseline. Immolate has the periodic damage will generate a soul fragment and a 50% chance to generate an additional soul fragment on a crit. Still 18-second duration. And then Drain Life was rather heavily nerfed in comparison to the Legion version. It does not work with your mastery either. No chaotic mastery interaction. Not sure why. Just probably just so that your drain lives across all 3 warlocks are baselined and there's no variance there. So, but Hellstone, creates so well. Demonic Circle's a talent, of course, but it does have 2 buttons. Again. 2 buttons. Yeah, there we go. I mean, your Demonic Gateway is still the same. Still throw it out. Goes to the max distance there. Woohoo! Outside of that, though, like Banish and everything else is the same as you know. And of course, you can always follow along on the database or a talent calculator on live. So, one more thing here. That's it. Yeah, making sure I go over all my notes properly. Purple Ember fragments are the same. Immolate, Incinerate, and Conflagrate. Or Conflagration, however you want to pronounce it. Yep. All right. So, right now, off the bat, to bring up the talents, you have, not that button, this button. You have, or had, Hellfire. It was here earlier. It has been removed and replaced with Inferno. And I'll go over all those in a moment. But just to recap, Backdraft, baselined. Empowered Life Tap, of course, gone, because Life Tap is gone. Soul Harvest, gone. Service, Grimoire of Service is gone. And then Wreak Havoc, baselined. Talents that were added now, Flashover, Internal Combustion, Soulfire, Inferno, and Dark Soul Instability. So to compare and contrast your talents from live, a lot of things have been moved around in the tree, but not as many talent adjustments as some other specs, because Destruction still does what Destruction does. So there's your live versus the BFA current build differences right there. And yes, I'll remember to close the talent window. I'm sorry, Affliction Warlocks, I derped. So, to go over some things first off. Big changes is that Cataclysm now is a 2-second cast time down from 2.5 to help combine with Burst AoE, which is mostly doing with a Cataclysm into a channeled Doomfire. So, the pretty standard like burst combination here. Right? Maybe having a Rain of Fire also cast where you're AoEing, right? That's also a thing. So that is still very much there, but because Cataclysm went down by half a second and the cast time, it's easier to snap that little burst a little better. Fire and Brimstone was rather heavily reworked / gutted / changed, where Incinerate now hits all enemies near your target, so within 8 yards of your main target, for 40% of the damage. Main target, same, 100%. All the Tendrilled Fire, 40% damage, and only generates 1 Soul Shard fragment for each additional enemy hit. So, in comparison to the live version where just your base Incinerate hits every target, now you're not going to get the additional benefits that you would from how Incinerate does work in that regard. So a little bit of a change to Fire and Brimstone, just a little bit, because the additional target's only going to be 1 fragment, whereas the main target, of course, has the 2 plus the up to extra 1 with the crit. And Inferno, this is a throwback to the olden days. Rain of Fire has a 20% chance to generate a Soul Shard fragment every time it deals damage. And you'll see me right here. I have 3 fragments to cast. This is on 4 targets. On average, I was getting about 6 pieces back. Like 6 fragments back. I'm going to stay in combat with some Drain Life here. Got lucky with those procs there. Got a whole shard back. Not too bad. We'll do one more test with that just to see how many we can get back. Get my shards back real quick to cast another 3rd stack. Wait for the Immolate to fall off. That should give me enough. Yep. But Inferno looks okay. It can never be that strong due to the fact that if it is... I think I got 2 extra there. Yeah, let me spend those on a Chaos Bolt, and then I'll toss this one out there. just to be more accurate. 2 more, maybe? 2 more? There we go. But it can't be that strong because then you're going to start using rain of fire on single target like you used to. That's like 6. It's 5 or 6 shards right there. It's hard to tell on the base UI. So it gives a bit of a refund. Obviously, it scales with more targets because the more and more targets you're hitting with rain of fire, the more and more chances you have to get your shards back. So that is one of your new talents. Another new talent, which up here, which is super awkward, I don't know how to use this thing, is Soulfire. There's a lot of math behind Soulfire. It's a long 3.8 second cast. I think database is it right now. Let me double check on that actually. No, it's 4 seconds. Sort of 4 seconds. Makes sense. 4 seconds reduced by haste. It's a 1 soul shard cast Chaos Bolt. It does more base damage, has the same crit damage scaling. Throw a big old fireball. But because it's 1 soul shard with a longer cast time though, it's better, but also not better than Chaos Bolt. I'm not really sure where this will fit in the build because the whole top tier here, 15s, are all about rotational bits. You have Eradication, same thing you're used to on live right now. And then you have Flashover. Taking Flashover gives you the full benefit of the conflag window. Whoops. Where you can do 10% more damage with your conflags, and it gives you additional charge of Backdraft when you use it. Base Backdraft, 2 charges. Each gives you 1 charge for your Incinerate or your Chaos Bolt. The Flashover version will give you 2 charges each time you use 1, and that'll stack up to 4 times. And of course, if you combine Flashover with Wreak Havoc, or with Havoc in general, right, you'll get a Soul Shard each time, and this is 4 stacks of Backdraft here. So it's weird. I don't know how this will compare, because this is just a really good interactive passive talent, whereas Eradication may or may not be good for burst and 2-target cleave, and then Soulfire is just Shadowburn is still here, not a baseline. It does generate 3 fragments whenever you use it, so it's kind of a mobile talent. If the target does die with the Shadowburn debuff, it will reset the cooldown of Shadowburn. But if that's where you'll be using it for, or if you're going to use it on, you know, movement fights, when you want to move around and actually have things to cast on the move, that's, you know, beyond me. I'm not a main Warlock player. The Warlock one-stop shop, and those guys will figure all that stuff out, and they'll let you know where these are useful. Obviously, PvP for helping burst. Internal Combustion is new. Chaos Bolt will consume up to 5 seconds. Whoops. Up to 5 seconds of your Immolate on the target to deal increased damage. So it sort of combusts your Immolate there. You saw that. And it pulls the damage right out. I can show you. Internal Combustion right there. So it took 5 seconds of Immolate, and it crit in this regard. But it's kind of like a multi-strike effect where you control the multi-strike. But you always have to have seconds on your Immolate to pull the damage out. But this works well with Eradication, right? Because you're putting 10% more damage on both effects, so that could be nice. But I'm not sure. The other combination you could do here is just take Reverse Entropy, which is just your spells have a 2.5 times haste RPPM chance to give you 15% haste for 8 seconds. Which is just a good passive. It just procs about 4 times a minute or so based on your haste. Gives you some haste, makes your rotation a little faster. That's about it, right? Demonic Circle again, Mortal Coil, Dark Fury takes off 15 seconds from your Shadow Fury. Grimoire of Sack still has the passive chance to do extra damage when you sacrifice your pet. You, of course, can still sacrifice your Void Walker. And then you get the additional benefit of having Shadow Bulwark yourself, which is the sort of Warlock last stand. And you can couple this with Dark Pact to get even larger shields. So you can knock... Oh, I gotta re-sacrifice my Void Walker now. So you can still Shadow Bulwark yourself, and then, of course, combine it with your Dark Pact. Get big old shield. This is without Dark Pact. It goes with like almost 16k, I think, when I buffed it together. I was just not gonna wait for the cooldown of sacrifice, so you can still do that. That's still a thing, and they have the passive extra damage here. The Roaring Blaze is basically the Blast Furnace talent from Fire Mages, where your conflag just burns the target for additional fire damage. This does not pandemic or stack, though, so it's probably just not finished. because it'd be nice if you could, double it up with flashovers on the move, put that dot up there, and then when you can cast, Chaos Bolt. But right now, it doesn't stack. It just exists. Because your other choice down here, again, using more of these tomes, is the Grimoire of Supremacy. So I'm going to go back to, I guess, like, because it doesn't work with Soulfire. So it doesn't really do anything here. So Eradication maybe, or just Flashover again. Internal Combustion works really well here. This is a buff on your Infernal. So when you have your Infernal active, every Soul Shard you spend, every Soul Shard, so a Chaos Bolt is 2 Soul Shards. So this is 16% more damage stacking to your follow-up Chaos Bolts. I'm just going to grab Flashover. Because I tried doing Eradication plus Internal Combustion on stream today with Grimoire of Supremacy, and we'll take your new DPS cooldown here, which is Dark Soul Instability, which is a flat 30% crit amp for 20 seconds on a 2-minute cooldown. There was some back and forth on like how you would open with this rotation, or how you would overall, I mean, I have a Void Walker in there. Get in there, buddy. And how this would feel to play. Because you're going to build up like almost 5 shards. And then you can Infernal. And then you can like do your first Chaos Bolt to start stacking. And maybe like one more Chaos Bolt, like to weave it in there. And then at about 20 seconds remaining, you would Instability here. But you have to, I didn't recast my, so you get to recast your Immolate there, which I did not do. I went back into 4 stacks. I'm just being aggressive with casting those. I needed to cast some Incinerates there. Because they're going to give you more on the crits too. We'll have 1 hard cast into this, into 1 more at 10? Yeah, 8k. But again, I didn't give the Immolate off there. Because as you do Internal Combustion, you're going to remove your Immolate, so you got to weave your Immolates in there during this window of time, and I have really no haste. Only 16% on this character right now, right? So 25 to 30% I was told is the bread and butter zone for the GCD and for the cast times. So, and if you can combine that with the Eradication window on like a really bursty, pure single target build, that could work. But again, like just baseline using Internal Combustion, you get maybe 1 to 2, probably 2. See, that's not even gonna be 2. Yeah, you have to refresh. Then you get 1. You get almost 1 Chaos Bolt between each Immolate. Otherwise, you're going to just it's going to fall off. Yeah, see, I got to refresh here. And you can do this on 2 targets, of course. You can Havoc another one and then Chaos Bolt both of them, and it'll both work on them too. Which will be nice for 2-target cleave. And again, does Eradication work there? Where the heck does Soulfire work? I have no idea. You know what? I mean, combat. Let me blow him up. Yeah. So there's the big shield there for you. Based on my HP, yeah, 15,000. So a little over half of my HP there. Quite a bit for that shield. And then, I don't know. And then just Soul Conduit. 15% chance whenever you spend a Soul Shards to have it refunded. It feels like the best that you could, like, Inferno Soul Conduit for AoE, like mass continuous AoE, if that's the type of encounter you're in. Normally, burst AoE is way more important, right? So Cataclysm and then maybe Sacrifice into Channel Demon Fire. Because Sacrifice does proc off of that. Let me double check that real quick. See if I can get it in the video. That's what I want to check, rather. So we'll put down... Make sure I have the Sacrifice buff. Right? I have the... No, I have to resummon my pet and blow him up again. They're having to change a talent. There we go. There it is. So we'll put down a Rain of Fire. And then a Cataclysm. And then a Demon Fire. Like, this is... This AoE... My Entropic Embrace is my passive. My racial passive. So this is a lot of potential burst... Right, so we had a Grimoire of Sacrifice here, probably off this Rain of Fire tick. I don't know if it procs off of your racial, but I mean, this is like the AoE burst that Destruction uses. That would be for a Mythic Plus, right? We have another one down here, one more down here, another one down here. But again, I don't know what these are proccing off of. Let me get a roll without. Do one more time without my passive proccing. There's a couple. Yeah, there's definitely one in the Demon Fire right there. Because again, Demon Fire or Doom Fire each target with your Immolate gets hit by the bolt, and then each target that gets hit also hits with that extra cleave effect within 8 yards. So that's why you get all these hits, and of course all the Immolates ticking behind the scenes. So that's the burst potential. And this tier, these 2 Grimoires now really go with, are you AoEing, or are you spamming single target and can you turret? And then Roaring Blaze is, I guess, mobility, but it doesn't stack, so it's kind of eh. But let me know what you think. I don't know where Soulfire is going to fit. Eradication, Internal Combustion seems good. Reverse Entropy and Flashover just feel good, but this is numbers tuning kind of stuff. The Fire and Brimstone tweak obviously has different components to it. I don't know if Infernal is going to be any good. The chance might be too low. We'll have to wait and see. A quick overview of your PvP talents. You turn War Mode on in your capital city of Orgrimmar or Stormwind. So turn that on in there. You get extra honor for killing any Horde or Alliance players, opposite faction. You get extra experience for killing monsters and doing quests. You also get additional rewards for doing world quests at max level. If you go on a 10 kill streak, you'll then become an assassin for that faction, and you gain a 15% damage and healing amp until you die. And adversely, of course, if you kill enemy assassins on the enemy team, then you gain even more bonus honor. You pick one of your medallion talents here, and then you pick any 3. I have Entrenched in Flame, Fell Fissure, and Bane of Havoc currently. These are all competing PvP talents, but you can pick any 3 of them. These talents will be active in PvP islands, obviously arenas and battlegrounds, and anywhere in the open world that you are in war mode, that you are not in a city. They're not going to be active in raids, dungeons, or PvE islands or war fronts, right? And no PvE content. But you can take your Bane of Havoc, which is your sort of AoE curse circle, which marks everything with Havoc, so that your Chaos Bolts can hit 12 things, right? Fell Fissure, this is your Chaos Bolt, creates the 5-yard wide eruption of Fell Fire under the target, which is the 50% movement speed slow, and the 25% Mortal Strike for 6 seconds. Entrenched in Flame is the Conflag Root on targets for 3 seconds that is not broken on damage. You have Curse of Fragility, which is the HP cut curse. You have Curse of Tongue, which is the increased casting time by 30% for 10 seconds on casters and healers. Curse of Weakness is the physical damage reduction. Nether Ward is your Warlock Spell Reflect. Essence Drain is your Drain Life, stacks up to 30% reduced damage, 25%, sorry, reduced damage on the target. And then Casting Circle is your AoE immunity to interrupts and silence effects when you're in the circle, but it removes it from your Unending Resolve, right? Then you also have Cremation, which is your Conflag, deals up to additional 3% of the target's maximum health and fire damage if the target is affected by your Immolate. So again, more bursty damage there. Or Focused Chaos, which is your Chaos Bolt, is increased by 65%, but no longer strikes additional targets affected by your Havoc. So you can pick super DPS focused stuff, right? So you can Curse of Fragility someone, cut their HP, and then Cremation them, right? Into, Focus Chaos them into Cremation, do tons of pure single target damage. You can be a Disabler and have all 3 of these. You can have Bane of Havoc, be all AoE stuff, be really defensive with all 3 of your defensive ones. So pick and choose whatever you'd like. And that's the war mode. So let me know if you have any crazy war mode builds that you're looking forward to in any of these classes coming up. But overall, Destruction is Destruction. You have a really good main DPS cooldown here, giving you a lot of additional shards. Let me just AoE this down real quick. You're going to have a lot of potential with Burst for single target or Burst for AoE. It's just how Destruction is, very much a burst-oriented spec. Wow, I destroyed that Immolate there. Let's do this one more. Can I do 2 in a row? Yeah, I can. There we go. Not bad. So you have a lot of potential here. Different little builds. Again, Roaring Blaze, probably the weakest talent, I think, and Infernal might be a little bit too low on the numbers tune there, but that's Destruction. It does what it does. Really nice particle effects. All the Warlock specs look really pretty. Well, I guess depends on what you qualify as pretty, I suppose. But that is the Destruction Warlock. The GCD stuff is basically just that Dark Soul instability is on the GCD. Turning on Burning Rush is, turning it off isn't. That's about it. Everything else is the same. Right? Summoning your Infernal is obviously on the GCD because it's a main cooldown. Havoc's on the GCD because it's a spread damage effect. But everything you're used to on live, I think, is the same, except for Dark Soul instability, because it's new. So, rest of my notes here is all done. If you enjoyed this video, of course, consider hitting the subscribe button, maybe even ringing that bell next to subscribe. Or if you would like to support what I do here on the channel in a more physical manner, maybe consider stopping by my official Design by Humans apparel store. We have a whole lot of new designs coming out very soon. We have 2 by Fabelina, which is a Gorillaz art, the album art in styled Battle for Azeroth shirt. Those will be available very, very soon. We just launched the Fate of a Titan shirt by Teutron. This is an all-over print, sort of a goodbye to Legion shirt. The front and the back right there. So you can, of course, customize these. Of course, you can go into the shirt design itself. These are more Fabelina shirts or more by Teutron. I'm wearing one today even. This is the Kill Jaden shirt. So you can go check those out if you'd like. The Little Arthas is very popular. Little Arthas and Syndragosa by Fabelina. Very, very cute. And these, of course, help me keep working with artists in our community and keep making stuff for you and keep me doing this for you as well. That's sort of how all this stuff works. But thank you very much for watching and listening to my rambles. I nailed the talent calculator stuff. Woohoo, I'm learning. And I will see you all in the next BFA Beta Second Pass video.